In this video, I'm going to use the Claude Code project session files from the MyCalc app created in the Claude to Markdown video. Link is in the description. You don't have to use those. You can use your own Claude Code project session files. I'm just letting you know what I'll be using. I'm going to navigate to ollama.com. That's ollama.com. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to download the Ollama Windows installer. I'm going to double click to install. When install finishes, the Ollama app will start. The following is optional, but I like to do this. I'm going to create a directory off the root, and I'm going to tell Ollama to store all the models in that root directory. It just makes it easier to access. It's easier for me to remember and go look in there if I need to, or clean it up. And I will set the model location to /Ollama models. It indicates that it saved the configuration. Exit the app. Great, we've installed Ollama. Now let's install a model in LLM. From a terminal window, I'm going to type Ollama run gemma4 E4B-IT-Q8_0. Great, the LLM is running. Let me say hello and ask the model to identify itself. And the model replies, so we're up and running here with Ollama and a local model. You can type / to see other commands. I'm going to do /by to exit. For the heck of it, I'm going to GCI recurse the /Ollama models directory that I created earlier. Okay, the model files are there. Great. If you didn't change your default location, then you can use the command here on the screen to check your directory. Okay, so let's open a terminal window and let's use the Ollama command. We can type Ollama -- version to see the version. Ollama -- help gives us info on some of the other commands. Ollama list shows us the installed models, and there's the model we installed. Let's use Ollama show and the model name to see detailed info on the model. Ollama PS shows if any models are currently running, and no models are running right now. All these commands we ran are accessible via the Ollama REST API. Let's try accessing Ollama's REST API from the command line. By default, Ollama listens at port 11434. Netstat confirms something is listening on 11434. Let's contact Ollama there. We can use PowerShell's invoke REST method to contact Ollama at endpoint http://localhost:11434. Ollama responds that the system is running. Next, let's query the version. Next, let's query the installed models using the tags REST API. And we see our installed model. We can use PowerShell select to filter out only the desired info, in this case the name and the size of the model. And remember that Ollama PS command? Well, let's try the PS REST API, which that PS command actually uses. And we can see it returns that nothing is running, just as the command line did. So what you should get from this is that there's parity between these Ollama command line commands and the Ollama REST API. Now let's use the Ollama REST API to send a prompt to the model to ask it a question. Again, we're going to use PowerShell's invoke REST method. When calling a REST API, we need to specify the URL, which includes the scheme, such as HTTP, the address, such as localhost, the port, which in this case is 11434, and other info, such as the API endpoint, which is the API we want to call. In this case, we're going to call the generate API, which will take our prompt and give it to a model, and the model will generate a response, which is going to be returned to us as part of the response to the REST API. In this case, the HTTP method is post. The API request has a body, which is in JSON format and contains instructions for the server. In this case, we are specifying the model it should use and the prompt it should give the model for processing. Convert to JSON takes the PowerShell object or hash and converts it to JSON. This is similar to how Python converts a dictionary to JSON. Lastly, we ask PowerShell to output the response when done, and the model responds with an answer to our question. Please note, for expediency and brevity in the video, I have edited the video to remove some delays. So when you use Ollama to call the server to ask a model a question, you'll likely see some kind of delay depending on your hardware and the overall performance of your setup. Since we just used a model, we can see it is running with an idle countdown timer of about 4 minutes until it is stopped due to non-usage. Let's query the same info with the PS REST API. I'll pipe the output to FL to format the list to avoid the table truncation. Let's call the REST API again, saving its result in the R variable. We see R is a PS custom object. We use GM in can see the PS custom object has a property which is an array of objects. Let's dump the models array and confirm the array type. Let's dump that one first element of the array, and for that one array element, which is model info, we can access the info properties such as name, size, and expired at. All this is to show that you can easily script Ollama interactions via the Ollama REST API. I'm going to clone the llm-prompts-and-tools repo to the c:\demo directory. Let me confirm that the Claude to Markdown script is present. Okay, great. Python 3.14 is installed. Let me create a virtual environment, or VM, for our demo. Great, let me activate the VM. Awesome. As usual, the command line prompt indicates the VM is active. I'm going to install the requests package to the virtual environment. Great. Since Claude Code is installed on Windows, I'm going to use the Windows File Explorer to view the Claude Code Project Sessions directory. The MyCalc app project directory contains Claude Code Project Session JSONL files. I'm going to right-click the MyCalc app project directory to copy it to the c:\demo directory. And let me paste. Excellent. I'll rename the directory to something simple and clear, Project Sessions. And there's our copy of the MyCalc app project sessions. Let me open the directory in VS Code. We can see the dense, non-human readable, detailed project session data. That is what we're going to simplify and summarize in the upcoming sections. By the way, for WSL Linux users, if you want to copy the project session files, you can do so by starting WSL, changing to the .claude projects directory. From the .claude projects directory, I can see the desired project, in this case, my Calc app. And from WSL, I can use Windows File Explorer to open the current directory. I can do this to copy files from WSL to Windows, but it's also a great way to access the WSL share path. You can see the address bar has that special path. I can copy that to Notepad and use it in custom backup scripts that I create. In fact, I have scripts that create daily backups of my WSL-related Claude Code work. I'm going to copy the WSL project session directory to c:\demo. I just did that for the WSL users. Since I already have a copy, I'm going to delete this extra copy. Excellent. Now we have a copy of the project sessions we're going to work with right here in the demo directory. Note I left the original project sessions located in the Claude project sessions directory. I did that so that I can continue working on those projects as needed. Now let's convert those project session JSONL files into Markdown. The Markdown extracts core conversations between the user and the model, omitting model thinking and other non-conversational detail. Here are the project sessions. Let's run the script to create the Markdown. I'll specify the project session JSONL directory as the source directory and a directory of the same name but suffixed with -md as the destination Markdown directory. Excellent. We see the process sessions MD directory contains the Markdown. Let's open this directory in VS Code. I'll add the original project session JSONL directory so we can easily glance at the original file and the created Markdown to get an idea for the differences. The project sessions MD directory is already open, so we just need to add project sessions. As an example, let me open the project session JSONL file that has a name beginning with 8AC. Let me enable word wrap. And as you can see, it's not particularly human readable. That's because this is meant for Claude and not really for direct human consumption. Now let's open the corresponding 8AC Markdown file. I'll use VS Code's feature to preview Markdown. And immediately we see a much simpler, easier to read file. So here are the original project session JSONL files. Take note of their sizes. And here are our simplified Markdown files, which contain only the core conversation and are much smaller. Now let's use the LLM to summarize all of our project session Markdown files into a single consolidated summary Markdown file. To do this, we'll use the Ollama summarize Claude Markdown script we cloned earlier. This script accepts a path to the Claude project session Markdown files we just created, and an output directory for the summarization Markdown files. We will run the script with this PowerShell one-liner. Let's go through this. First, we'll define a timestamped output directory for our results, our summaries, and we'll create the directory ensuring that it exists. We'll output the directory name so we can be aware of the name used. We'll set the Python unbuffered environment variable to 1 to ensure any standard output is immediately visible to the terminal as well as to the log file. Next, we'll run the actual script, specifying the project session markdown files as the source to summarize, and the output directory in which to place the resulting summaries. We'll send any error messages to standard out and our log file. We will pipe all script output to the PowerShell T object, which will split or T the output to both the terminal window and the log file. Let's hit enter to run the summarization. And what is happening here is the script is going through each of the source markdown files, and it's using the Ollama REST API to communicate with the LLM to make the request that the LLM summarize each document. And it's doing this by breaking the documents down depending on the nature of the documents, their size, and what it detects in the process of processing the documents. We're not going to get into those details in this video, but in short, the script is going through each of those source markdown files and sending them to the LLM via Ollama for summarization. The amount of time this takes will depend on your overall hardware configuration, especially the kind of GPU you have, how much VRAM it has, the RAM on your system, and of course the processor. And FYI, this video has been sped up, and so you're not seeing the actual time this took for me, which was longer than what you're seeing here, as indicated by the time values you can see emitted by the script. Alright, it's finished. Let's list the summary output directory, and we see the runs result directory. Let's open that summary result directory in VS Code. You can see it created one summary for each of those source project session summary files, along with one single convenient consolidated summary of all of the markdown files. Let's preview the formatted per session markdown summary. You can see each summary highlights the discovered key points, and each has a similar human readable format, so there's a consistency and a simplicity that's been added. Now let's open the consolidated summary of all our sessions. Let's open the Markdown preview. The consolidated summary provides a clickable table of contents where we can jump to any session's summary. Each summary outlines what was discussed and covered in the discussion of that session. You can imagine with many months of Claude project session data files, having one consolidated summary in human readable format distilled down to key points discovered in those conversations could be helpful for reviewing things and finding things. And you always have the original files if you need to find more details there. And finally, there's the log.txt file, which can be used for troubleshooting or as needed. Alright everybody, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, happy LLMing, happy document summarizing if you're doing any document summarizing. And other than that, just be well, be safe, all that jazz, rock it out. Alright everybody, happy summer. And until the next video, be well. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.